Welcome to another episode of the Preparing for Pregnancy After Loss podcast. This is your host, Natalie Facey. And for those of you who are new to the podcast, I'm an angel mom, a birth doula, a coach, and a somatic healing practitioner. I combine these skills and trainings and my lived experiences to support those like you who are on the birthing journey. And in particular, I work with who I call birth warriors who are healing from difficult experiences such as loss or trauma and are preparing their body, mind, and spirit for pregnancy. In this particular episode, we'll be exploring restoring trust in the body. This episode was one of the Birth Warrior Wednesdays that I did in our private Facebook community. It's broken out into two parts. In part one, we look at what happens in the body when we experience trauma, what's happening in the relationship between the brain and the body when we're going through something painful. I also take you through an exercise that allows you to settle in your body and begin the process of restoring a relationship of trust with the body. A few things that I want you to keep in mind for this episode and perhaps all the episodes is that I live in New York City. It means that it gets really noisy. So I have trained my mind to block out the noise. So just know that it's going to be a part of the background and just allow yourself to be in the full experience of the episode just the same. And for this particular episode, as I take you through this exercise of tuning into your body, it would be ideal if you're sitting down or you're resting so that you're really able to just settle in and tune into your body. If you're not able to do that right now, totally fine. Feel free to come back to this part of the episode when you'd like to go through that exercise, but totally fine to just listen to it for now without having to sit down. Okay, you'll still get benefit out of it. Now, in part two of this episode, we'll dive even deeper into how we can actually heal the body through a process called somatic therapy. Somatic therapy is healing that incorporates the wisdom that's held in the body. So it's making the body a part of the solution, a part of its own resource for healing. And I'll share more in part two about what this process entails and how you can use somatic therapy to support your fertility journey and to help your body to heal. I also share other ways that I work with birth warriors who are on their either healing journey, fertility journey, or pregnancy journey. So if you'd like to learn more about my work, do stick around for that. The topic for today is on restoring trust in the body. When we go through an experience where something that we were depending on fails us, and something that we're depending on doesn't perform in the way that we expect it to perform, and it leaves us feeling vulnerable, and it leaves us feeling like we can't actually depend on that thing for our support. We can't depend on that thing to carry out the role or the functions that we want it to do. And when we're in the state of not being able to trust the body, not being able to depend on the body, there is this sense of vulnerability that we experience in the world. I shared that before having my pregnancy loss, I felt strong and invincible in my body. You know, even when cold and flu season came around, I was like, I'm not going to catch that. My immune system is so strong. Like, my immune system is so boss. There's like, I'm good. So there was always this level of confidence in my body's ability to take care of me, in this confidence in the strength that I had in my body. And after my pregnancy loss, that definitely diminished. You know, after my loss, that was not the same. And the reason why it's important to restore this sense of trust in the body is because the body is the instrument that we use to do anything in the world, right? The body is the detector. So the body senses what's happening in the environment. And one example is through the skin. Is it warm today? Is it too warm? Is it cold today? Is it too cold? Right? When the body takes in that information, there is processing that happens that our brain then uses to decide what the next action is. So in the body, the senses takes in that information of the temperature, for example. Within ourselves, we know, okay, it's this temperature today, I need to bring the extra jacket. Or it's raining today, I need to bring the umbrella, right? The body is taking in information so that we can be in balance in the world. It's taking in information so that we always know how to navigate the world. Is it too dark down that street? If it's too dark down that street and there is this fear that's rising in my body, that's a road that I'm not going to be traveling on, right? So our body is the thing that brings in everything from our environment, processes that so that we have information for moving forward. We can think of our body like our navigation system as we're moving in the world. And so if we don't trust our navigation system, what does that mean about how safe we feel in the world, about how confident we're able to move in the world, right? If the body is the navigation system that's taking in the information, this is where we are and this is what we need to do next. How do we move into the world when we can't trust it or depend on it? And if we're worrying whether or not we can trust it. So what I'm going to be sharing today is a technique to be able to tune into the body. The reason why that is especially important on the birth warrior journey or the birth warrior continuum is because wherever you are on the journey, it requires this conversation with the body. It requires this collaboration between you and your body. So whether you are trying to conceive, whether you are preparing your body to then try to conceive, whether you've been on the fertility journey, whether you're currently pregnant, preparing for childbirth, wherever you are on that journey, it requires communication and collaboration with your body. And so being able to connect with the body, tune into the body, and listen to the body, it's really, really important. It's essential, actually. So even if you're working with a doctor, anybody that you're working with, it requires being able to communicate to them what's happening in your body so that you can have the support that you need. I'll say that after my pregnancy loss, there was a lot of guilt and shame that I felt because it was as though my body failed me. It's as though my body failed me and my baby, right? It was supposed to do something different than what it actually did. What many of us don't recognize is that when the body isn't functioning the way that it should, there is some imbalance that's in the body. So the solution isn't to be angry at the body. The solution isn't to hold resentment towards our body or even ourselves for what happened. Take that as an indication that, oh, my body needs more support. My body needs more help. There's something that's going on that has my body out of balance. And if I'm seeing the outcome that I'm seeing in my fertility journey, which is an outcome that I don't want, it means that my body needs more support. So how can I tune into the body and I understand what the body needs so that I can then support it, right? So you can take it from that perspective, not that, my body has failed me and there's something wrong with my body, but how can I tune into what my body's needs are, knowing that it's just trying to communicate to me that it needs something different or it needs something more or it needs more support. What I'm really excited to share is that I will be launching a series called Birth Warrior Bootcamp. So this is launching this month, running from Monday, October 26th through Monday, November 2nd. And it's going to happen at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 7 p.m. each evening. So each evening, I will be taking you through different ways to heal your body, ways that are going to be natural and holistic. I will help you to have a deeper understanding of the wisdom and the power that's in your body and to tap into that power so that you have access to it on your fertility journey, you have access to it in your pregnancy, you have access to it during childbirth. and also to help you to understand what your unique needs are as you prepare for pregnancy. Is it finding the right medical team? Is it ensuring that there are certain questions that are answered? Is it getting your partner ready? Is it helping you to overcome fears and triggers? So, really going into all of the stuff that you need to go into to ensure that you are prepared for pregnancy and to ensure that you are on your healing journey. So, look out for additional details on my website. It's nataliefacey.com. That's NATALEEFACEY.com. And for now, save the date October 26th through November 2nd at 6 p.m. So, going back to, yes, nature is healing. Yes, it absolutely is. Going back to, what I mentioned before about the body being the detector. So going out to detect what's in the environment, receiving that information, processing that information. When we get to the processing stage, when we get to that stage of what does this mean for me, that is where the difficulty comes in. Because if in this process of now interpreting and trying to digest what that experience means for you, if that is too hard for your system to take in, then your body just shuts it down and holds on to it. So you move into this freeze state. Your body freezes that information, keeps it somewhere, it's keeping it safe, and it's keeping it safe until you're able to chip at it, until you're able to process it on whatever description feels most accurate for you, whether it's like melting it or chipping at it or breaking it down. The things that you're not able to handle that feel too big and too painful for you to work through, then your body holds that until you're able to work through them. Now, even after you've gone through the loss, so obviously in the midst of everything, that's when it's most difficult. After the loss has occurred, whether it's several weeks after, months, years, if you still don't feel safe enough to go back to that thing that the body froze, to go back to the information the body was receiving that was too much to handle, if you don't feel safe and if you don't have enough support to do that, then it just stays there in that frozen state. The different responses that we have when we are feeling unsafe and we're going through difficulty, the different survival responses, they're the fight, flight, and freeze. Those are the main ones. Within fight and flight, there's a lot of like motion and activity. Freeze, that's the shutdown. That's the holding because I can't actually handle it. And animals out in nature, other mammals, they also go through the freeze state. If you see like a National Geographic video of like a gazelle, when a gazelle is being chased by the lion, the gazelle might fall and look like they're dead. The body becomes limp, like it's dead. Or if you've seen a mouse, you might be put in a frozen state because the mouse scares you. Or you might scare the mouse and the mouse might be in a frozen state. Like it's how our body responds when we are overcome by something in the moment. It's how our body responds when something is too much for us to handle in the moment. Now, in our normal intake of information, in our normal receiving of information, the same sort of thing happens. If you've been watching the news and just everything that's going on, you might realize that at one point you feel completely overwhelmed. You want to close your eyes because you cannot take in anything more. You cannot process anything more. It feels as though your system is going into overload because of the craziness of all of what's happening. And so the body holds on to that information until you have the time, the space, the support, the tools to chip at it, to heal it, to release it. But know that everything that's coming into your body, if it's not released, it's being held. Everything that's coming in, if it's not released, it's being held. It's like taking in breath. inhale. You exhale the carbon dioxide. You exhale the waste product that you don't need anymore. If you're not releasing, then you're holding. So the same thing happens in trauma. The same thing happens when we go through pain. The same thing happens when we have unresolved emotions, whether it's from a relationship or a conversation. Someone said something to you and it pissed you off, and you weren't able to express yourself. You weren't able to give them a piece of your mind. There's so many instances in which this happens. And going back to the topic of restoring trust in the body, part of the reason why the body becomes out of balance is all of the stuff that the body is holding on to. All of the stuff that the body had to hold on to because it was never given the opportunity or the support to heal. So, what I want us to be doing moving forward from this point onward, what I want us to be doing is to become aware of what's happening in the body. Become aware of the information that the body's holding on to because it's too difficult to process. There are exercises that we can use to start to release and start to chip at what the body is holding on to, right? One of the exercises that I just went through was softening the breath and becoming aware of what's happening in the body. So, what happens when we soften the breath, what happens when we tune into the body, is that we start to quiet the mind. That's why meditation is so helpful. Meditation and other relaxation practices, because we begin to quiet the mind. So, in quieting the mind, we can tune in and listen to the body, right? It's hard to release it because you don't feel like you have the support to do so. It's almost like when you, the image that's coming to my mind is like thinking of going up a hill with this massive boulder, and you see you're at the bottom of the hill and you're like, crap, how am I going to do this? And you try a little, you try to push, and when you're trying to push, you realize that there's so much strain on your arms, there's so much strain on your body that it feels as though it's impossible. But if you have support around you, if someone else comes beside you and like, oh, I've done this before, you can use this tactic, you can use this strategy, and let's do it together. When you have that support and the tools and the direction, then you're able to do it. It doesn't feel like you're doing it alone. Okay? So that's why it feels like it's hard to heal, because you're not sure how it's done and you don't have the support to do it. It doesn't feel like someone is going to hold you and support you while you're going through it. What if something comes up that re-traumatizes you, or that puts you in this place of fear where you feel as though you've lost control over your emotions and you've lost control over your ability to function in the world? Your brain is going to do whatever it can so that you are safe and you're protected. So if that means holding that trauma, storing it somewhere in the body, locking it somewhere in the body, your brain is going to be doing that. Your body is going to hold on to it. Your brain gives your body the direction to hold it. But it doesn't mean that it should be there. It means that it's being held there until you're ready to deal with it. And actually, now that I've explained it that way, it's more of a supportive process. It's more of this safekeeping, right? It's more of this, all right, we know that that was difficult. Let's hold this right here for you until you're able to work through this. So what we're going to be doing in a little bit is an exercise to help you to connect with the body. And again, the reason why this is so important is when the body is taking in information, it uses it to navigate into the world. You're able to decipher what's happening. Like, how is my body perceiving what's happening and what's happening inside of my body, and how do I need to support my body as a result of that? So wherever you are, just settle in, feel grounded in your body. And then begin to deepen your breath. So a deep inhale and exhale. Good. That felt really good. Another deep breath in. And exhale. And my body is already beginning to soften, beginning to be at ease or at greater ease, a greater sense of ease. So as you do this, tune into what's happening in your body. Just tune into what differences you're noticing. Whether your chest feels lighter, more open, that could be something. Whether your arms feel softer, just tune into how your body is responding. Because again, your body is this apparatus that's detecting and measuring what's happening in the world outside of you. Your body is your navigation system. It tells you where you can move, how you can move, at what pace you need to move. So if you needed to do that with me, feel free to do that. It allows for just even more release, more ease in the body. That deep breath and that So let's try that. Good. More breath, more ease. And if you're noticing any shifts at all in your body, what I want you to become aware of is that this took probably just a minute. To connect with the breath and to become tuned into the body. So the next step that I want us to move to is to make contact with the body. So you can put your hand right here on your chest. You can put your hand right underneath like this breast area. So at the top of your stomach or further down to your stomach if you'd like. Wherever feels like it could benefit from your support. Wherever feels like it could benefit from your touch. That's where you should place your hand. And this is such a simple and effective way to bring in comfort into the body, especially if you experience anxiety, stress, fear, anything that causes the body to be in this shaky or panicky state. Just resting your hand on your chest, on your body. It's almost like the stability or the groundedness that the body can use in that moment to restore a feeling of safety. And let's go back to the breath as we're doing that. Let's go back to the deep inhales and the exhales. As we mirror this process of the body taking in information, taking in the breath, and releasing the byproduct of that, releasing what it no longer needs. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And as your body is doing this, I want you to now become aware of what's happening in the body. The body speaks in beautiful ways, different from only using words, different from only using the voice. The body speaks through imagery, right? So images might show up when your body is trying to communicate something to you. The body speaks through emotions. Emotions might come up. The body speaks through sensations. You might be noticing that loudest of all. So if there is tightness or tension, cramping, tingling, these are all words describing sensations that you might experience in the body when you begin to settle in, when you begin to tune in and listen. So for now, just listen. And by listening, I mean just tune into what's happening in the body. Just open yourself up to this awareness of what's calling your attention. Are you feeling tightness somewhere or heaviness? What's calling your attention in your body? And then whatever is calling your attention, let's go to that place. Whatever area of your body is calling your attention. And then begin to tune into what might this area of your body need. What might it need? So if there is some tightness or some tension somewhere, might it need a rub? Like would bringing some comfort to that area be helpful? So I'm going to do my shoulder as an example. It's actually easier to use this. So does my shoulder just need a nice little rub? Maybe I'll bring it down to my arms. My arms need a nice little rub. Do I need to be comforted? Do I need to be held? Do I need to be held in a way that feels safe, comforting? Right? And as I'm doing that, there is this feeling of love that is spreading in my body as I'm doing that. So I'm going through an exercise to connect with the body. So I invite you where you are to just deepen your breath, make contact with your body, and just soften your breath, soft and deep. Deep inhale, deep exhale. And it takes very little time to do this. So when we listen to the body, it becomes the entryway of building a relationship with the body, of rebuilding a relationship with the body. Because I believe that before we go through difficult experiences relating to the body, we often have a good or decent relationship with the body, right? We often have trust in our body. There are no questions as to, whether or not our bodies will do the things that we want it to do, because we haven't had an experience of it not working the way that we think it should yet, right? So there's still this level of, yeah, my body's fine. So this relationship of starting to listen to the body, or this process of starting to listen to the body, is what creates trust in the body. Because when you can listen to the body, right, and the body communicates to you, this is what I need. And when you respond to that need, then you can start to believe that what's happening in the body is actually from a place of the body needing support. I mentioned in the previous recording that I was tuning into the news and just listening to a lot of things that were really disturbing for me. And when I got to bed, which was
Probably 2 hours afterwards, there was a lot of anxiety and like fluttering and uneasiness in my body. Even as I was lying in bed, there was just this sense of uneasiness. I didn't even want to go to bed. Like, I still had the lights on because it felt like there was just this disturbance in my system. So I just laid on the bed, put my hand on my chest and then on my stomach, and I could feel the busyness and the uneasiness just start to soften. I could feel it become a little bit quieter as I did this. And that was my reminder to my body that we were actually safe. Right here on my bed, in my apartment, we're actually safe. And in this state of feeling greater safety, then my mind could calm down and I could have more clarity to make decisions. I could have more clarity to decide, how do I want to move in the world? What choices do I want to be making? How do I want to support others? And how do I need to ask for support? Now, when that busyness was happening, I couldn't get to that place. But when I tuned into my body and listened to my body, that's when I could get to that place. And so the body is always communicating with us. We just have never been taught to listen to the body.
Okay, so this is where we pause. This is the end of part one. And I would like to invite you to check in with your body and just see how you're feeling. If you feel as though you're still digesting, you're still processing, if things are still marinating, feel free to give yourself a pause and then move on to part two when you feel ready. But if you're feeling jazzed up and you're ready to learn more, to dive deeper into ways to actually move further into your healing, then feel free to move on to part two of this episode.